Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. With so many people back to flying now, airports are congested. Flights are being canceled, and the pilot shortage isn't helping matters.
So that means many folks are choosing to drive somewhere for the holidays, even long distances, in order to avoid flying. But don't start that holiday vacation until you check your vehicle first.
In today's On Your Side podcast episode, we are talking with Emilie Voss from Carfax. She tells us about some of the most overlooked maintenance issues that are easy to prevent if you just take a few minutes to check them out.
This is On Your Side with Susan Campbell and Gary Harper, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Okay, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
I'm Susan Campbell.
Hello, Susan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How was the Thanksgiving?
It was really good.
Was it?
So much food, a little work in the morning.
Right.
And then went home, cooked the whole meal. It was a little later than we were originally planning because of the work thing.
Right.
But it all went off well.
During our last podcast conversation, you said your husband was going to be pretty much making everything, the turkey and everything.
Oh, no, my brother-in-law.
Oh, your brother-in-law.
My husband was also working.
Oh, he was working. Oh, boy.
So I got home early enough that I was able to kind of start, tackling some of the good stuff.
Yeah. Setting the table.
Yes.
You took the easy tasks.
No, I did a lot of the cooking, actually.
Did you?
I was joking that I wanted my brother-in-law to help me a bunch, but then I ended up getting home in time and, kind of took over and pushed him out of the kitchen.
Does he live here, the brother-in-law?
California.
Okay, so he drove in then.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
A lot of people not flying, they're driving places. My kiddo came in, surprise.
That's amazing.
From Pennsylvania, flew in. I had no idea.
Whoa.
So I had my two boys together, and we had some other relatives that came in. So yeah, it was a good time.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was really
cool.
So
how did the surprise go? How did you find out that he was in town?
It was 12:30 at night. I'm in bed, and my wife is next to me saying, "Hey, wake up, wake up." And I'm like, "Leave me alone. It's after midnight." And then finally he says, "Hey, get up."
And you knew the voice.
And then I knew the voice.
Oh, that's the best.
I turned around and, we gave each other a big hug, and really, really cool.
How awesome.
It was a great Thanksgiving. And he's coming back in during Christmas. So I get to have both of my boys together again.
Amazing. Happy holidays over there in the Harper House.
It is. The Harper Hacienda. Yeah, we're getting a lot done over there. Hey, listen, we're talking about vacations, people flying places. Airports are nuts right now, and I know a lot of people are just trying to keep from flying as much as they can. We have that pilot shortage going on. There's a lot of issues that are not really making flying a happy experience.
Well, and obviously at this time of year, you always do run the risk of weather delays too, right? All
Absolutely.
of a sudden, up and down the East Coast, you have snow, and that just spirals.
Yeah, you're right. And, even here in Phoenix, you go north 2 hours into Flagstaff, and it's 60 degrees here, and up there it could be 10 degrees, with, 2 foot of snow. So you just don't know what you're getting into. But you have to prepare yourself. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking to Emilie Voss from Carfax. Hello, Emilie. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. Are you driving anywhere for the holidays?
I am not. I'm staying close to home. Thanksgiving was at my brother-in-law's a mile away, and Christmas is 5 miles away at my sister-in-law's. So I have it easy, but we do know that travel is going to be up this year. AAA predicting pre-pandemic levels. So we know people are hitting the roads again.
Yeah, it's either what's the old postman thing, rain, sleet, or whatever. I mean, people do not care.
You nailed it. That was great. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. Rain, sleet,
and
whatever, they don't care.
You get the picture. So before people get in their car, and I know they're going to be excited to go see relatives or get to wherever they're going to be celebrating the holidays, they just don't really pay much attention. I think the most important thing for people is to, pack their bags and throw them in the trunk or on top of the car, as I see a lot these days. They don't even have covers. They just put the luggage on top, tie it down with rope, and then go.
I don't see that very often. Do you?
All the time.
Really?
Yes.
Where are you driving?
That's a podcast for another time. But Emilie, share with us some information. I mean, what should people do? Some easy, quick, and cheap things they could do to kind of like keep from breaking down or just remaining safe on the road before they leave?
Yeah, so we just look, Carfax has service records, right? We have billions of records. Actually, we just hit 30 billion records. Breaking news. It just happened 2 days ago in our database. And a big chunk of those are service records. So we took a look at our service records ahead of holiday travel because we were curious, are people keeping up with their routine maintenance? And what we found was actually pretty alarming. So we found that almost 50% of vehicles on the road, 50% are overdue for a tire rotation and 30% are overdue for oil change. So these are routine maintenance items. And then when we look at cars that are overdue for both an oil change and a tire rotation, it's about 1 in 5 vehicles. So that's an alarming number when that's just the very basics, right? Like we all know we're supposed to be doing those things to keep up with our routine maintenance, and a large chunk of vehicles on the road, 50% overdue for tire rotation. That's alarming because tire rotation also impacts how the car handles. So this becomes a safety issue if we're putting off this routine maintenance down the road. So if we are heading out on the road and, going places for the holidays, this is a great time to just, you have a few weeks now before you head somewhere for maybe Christmas, to make sure that you're up to date on your routine maintenance.
Is it an expense issue or just a timing issue, do you think, that people just kind of put that off?
My guess, and we don't have data on that, but my guess is that it's a time thing, right? We're all busy. And I also think there's another component here because a lot of people are driving less miles. We do know that from our data since COVID. People are driving less miles. So maybe you're used to in your head waiting till you hit that mileage marker, but manufacturers give a recommendation specific to your vehicle. It's different for every vehicle, but it's time or mileage. So maybe in the past, you've always hit the mileage, so you're waiting to hit that, say, 5,000 miles to get your oil change, or 10,000 miles, whatever it is that your manufacturer recommends, but there's a time component. So if you don't hit that miles in, say, 6 months, 8 months, there's a time recommendation as well. So if you haven't, you should still be getting your oil changed every 6 months. And each vehicle is different and it is in your owner's manual, but we look at what those vehicle manufacturer recommendations are and compare them to when we know people are getting their vehicles serviced. And there is a big gap there. So we do know that everyone needs to just do a little better job of making sure that their vehicles are getting their routine maintenance.
You need to set those calendar alarms.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things too that you just don't think about every single day, right? You're running around, you're doing all the pickups from school and going to work and buying the perfect presents, and all of a sudden it's just like, next week, I'll get it next week, and then the next week happens and it doesn't happen still.
The problem is your day's off. You know, a lot of people working and they're like, I don't feel like getting out today. I just want to sit here and watch football or whatever it is they want to do. So it's an issue with people just not wanting to get out. I just recently had my tires rotated, and they threw in the alignment, which I really didn't think I needed. And let me tell you what a difference that was.
That's a nice little add-on that they threw in.
Well, they didn't throw it in.
Okay.
I mean,
I was going to say, hook me up with your guy.
Yeah, it was the dealership. So, yeah, it was expensive, but I would say it was worth it because my car drove great before. But then after the rotation of the tires and the front end alignment, man, it's driving really good now. I feel like going 1,000 miles.
It really does impact the handling of the vehicle. So it's just something you want to do. And a lot of times when you do take the vehicle in for an oil change, they'll throw it in, as Gary says, but you can get them done at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So when you're taking it in for the oil change, have them make sure that they're rotating the tires and checking your alignment if you need that as well.
I do think there is also, though, like you went and they said you need the alignment too. Mm-hmm. There's also sometimes that feeling of when you go to get the oil changed, you want to know that you actually need the work they're throwing at you, because you don't want to be taken advantage of either.
Right.
So how do you kind of make those determinations on what you actually need and what might be more of a sales pitch?
All right, well, I'm going to do a little sales pitch here because Carfax actually has a free tool. It's totally free to you, but we want to help consumers be able to confidently make those service decisions as well. So we have a tool called Car Care. It's just an app you download on your phone. You put the vehicle in. We'll tell you when you have an open recall, if there's a recall issued on your car, but we'll also give you service reminders so that you're due for an oil change, you're due for a tire alignment, you're due for a brake inspection. All of that, we'll send you alerts based on the manufacturer recommendations for your specific vehicle. So it's really great because, like you mentioned, Susan, we're all so busy, and sometimes that stuff just kind of gets pushed to the back of our brain, and we forget how long it's been. Car Care actually also reminds you when your inspection and registration are due. So it saved me a couple of times because you just forget. You feel like you just got it last week, and really it's been a year and you're due for new registration. So it's just a place where a one-stop shop where we'll just shoot you an email as a reminder, and a third party that we're not making money off the servicing you're doing. We're just telling you what the manufacturer is recommending as far as any recalls or service that you need on your car. So it's a great way to just kind of keep track. And then you can see all the service history done also on your Carfax report, which helps then with the value of your vehicle as well. So if you're regularly maintaining your vehicle, it's going to save you money during your time of ownership, but it will also make you more money when you go to sell the vehicle, when you can show that the vehicle was regularly maintained. We know that impacts value, and people look for that, and they'll pay more when it's time to buy a vehicle. In fact, on average, a well-maintained vehicle is worth about $2,000 more than a vehicle that does not have a maintenance history.
I think one item a lot of people, particularly here in Arizona, forget about: wiper blades, windshield wipers.
We don't use them very often.
We don't, but when we need them, boy, do we need them, right? And
Absolutely.
They're not there because they're falling apart. Or how important is it to check your windshield wipers? And what do you look for?
Yeah, you do want to check your windshield wipers because you want to make sure you catch it before you are caught in that storm and they're not working properly. I've seen recommendations even from Consumer Reports as little as every 6 months you might need to replace them, depending how often you're using them. But it is something you want to look for when they're running, if there's like streaking or any tears in the blade itself, that can just cause major issues. And it can be a safety issue when you are caught in severe weather as well. So you do want to make sure that's a routine item that you should also be checking. Put it on your list there. Maybe every time you go to get an oil change, to be checking those as well.
Yeah, I got into one of my cars the other day, and obviously the wipers need to be replaced, and I haven't done it yet. But I knew they needed to be replaced because when I turned them on, they went they were like bouncing all over the windshield.
Yeah, that's not smooth.
No, not smooth and very irritating. So that's a telltale sign.
It's on the list.
It's on the list to do. I'll get to it this weekend, hopefully.
And you can go to an auto for something just as simple as wiper blades. You can just go to an auto parts store, and a lot of times they'll install them for free. I know that I've done that before while you wait right there. So you don't necessarily have to take it all the way into the shop or the dealership for that. You can go to an auto parts store, and most of them will help you out, find the right blades, and then also put them on there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of those auto parts stores, they do it as a courtesy, which I think is great customer service. I have a lot of friends that have RVs, fifth wheels, stuff like that. Now they're parked for quite a while, some months at a time, and then something comes up like the holidays, and they want to just hit the road. And the one thing they don't check is the air pressure. And these trailers, I mean, we see, right, those shredded tires on Arizona highways. We see that all the time. People are not checking the air pressure. It's so easy. Tell us about the inflation. And I'm not talking economy inflation. I'm talking about tire inflation.
It's great to keep a tire gauge in your car. I always have. My dad had one in my car for me since I was 16, and I regularly use it, especially if you do find yourself driving into cooler temperatures. So we know that the tire pressure goes down. So if you are driving into the mountains or a different climate, that can really impact your tire pressure as well. And underinflated tires can cause issues with handling, like we were talking about with the tread as well, but also braking. So you want to make sure that the tires are inflated to the proper amount. And that's a great thing to check, especially like you said, if your car has been parked in the same place, or your vehicle or your RV has been parked in the same place for a while and you haven't been driving it. And if you are heading into, a big temperature swing, a lot colder weather, we do know that, that can impact your tire pressure as well.
Yeah, and again, a lot of places, tire companies will do it for free. I know there's one well-known company here in Arizona that they have really exploded. They used to, and they still do check your tire pressure for free. But now it used to be like one car every, you would just drive right up and they would do it. Now people have caught on, and there is a line around the building. People are waiting like 20 minutes to have their tire pressure checked. I mean,
really?
Yeah, well, I think the goal here is once they're looking at your tires and they're inspecting them, then they're like, okay, we put air in your tire, but you need 2 new ones. Just letting you know.
Here's the list that we were mentioning earlier.
But you're not pressured to buy. I mean, it is a warning.
It's a service.
It's a service.
I just send my husband up the street to the gas station.
Oh my god!
But those little tire gauges you can keep in the door of your car. They are great. They don't cost a lot of money, and then you have it on you if you're just walk out to your car one day and a tire looks a little off to you, you can check, right, and make sure that it's within the manufacturer recommended air pressure for your vehicle.
Speaking of gas, and you making your husband do it. Is this like a husband thing? Because every time I get into my wife's car, it is on fumes. I don't understand. Gosh. Todd is our audio engineer.
If Steve was sitting right here, he would give you an earful about me.
Yes.
And my very empty gas tank.
And I would give him an earful. Every time Todd, our audio engineer, gets into his wife's car, it is how many miles? Like 6 miles to empty or something?
Guess who got gas in the car last night when we were driving, because it was almost empty.
And it was your wife's car, of course.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah. So, hey, if we're giving tips, that's a good one. check your fuel tank.
Or when your husband goes to fill up the air pressure in the tires, you can just have him top it off.
You make it sound so easy.
I know.
Hey, there's on every car's gas gauge, if you forget, if you're driving a car that you don't drive very often, or if you just forgot what side your gas tank is on, do you know how you could tell?
The little arrow.
Yeah, it's a little arrow there. Hey, good for you.
I'm joking around about having my husband do a lot of my car stuff, and he is a really great car guy, and he's learning a lot from my dad, who's also a car guy, but I do this stuff for myself too. I am proud of myself that I can handle a tire change. I had to do that one time.
Nice.
So, yes. I think those are all basics that everybody should know how to put a spare on.
The Susan Campbell pit crew.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't do it fast. I wasn't like a NASCAR crew. I'm
going to flag you in.
I handled it.
And maybe you could just do my tire rotation, and I won't have to go to the dealer next time.
I'll see you in 3 weeks after it's done.
Sounds good. Oh, God, it will take that long?
I told you I wasn't fast. I'm thorough.
Hey, Emily, what about batteries? The car battery. I mean, we turn it on and off all the time, and as long as it works, it's great. But that's something you should probably have checked, particularly before you're gone on a long trip.
Yes, exactly. A long trip. And especially, again, if you're heading into the cold weather. So if you're driving up into the mountains, that's something you do want to check, because cold temperature impacts batteries and age, right? We know the age. And if your battery is a little older and you're unsure before you head out, you can take it to a service shop, the auto parts store. They'll test the batteries there for you for free too, so that you can just have that peace of mind before you head out, so you don't end up, stopping somewhere and then your car won't turn back on.
I know those safety packages that they sell are really helpful, and you just throw them in the back of your trunk. Now, your trunk's probably going to be loaded with baggage and, things that you're taking with, but you have to have that safety thing. The safety bag has the car cables. It has like a little neon light.
The reflective the triangle or something.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly, because you don't want to get hit at night. I think those are a great idea, and they're relatively inexpensive, Emily.
Yeah, and I think all the things we're talking about, that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of a cure saying applies here on the vehicle, right? Because all of these situations, if you do these little things up front, it's going to save you a massive headache and money down the road. So you're not having to, call a tow truck or, there's so many different scenarios that can happen. But you just want to make sure if you do the prevention up front, it's going to cause you a lot less headache and money through your ownership as well.
Road assistance as well. You got to have that. Yeah. I mean, I have that for both my kids, my wife, as well as myself. We've used it, a couple of times for towing and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, never know when you're going to need it, but it's like insurance. You need it when you need it, and hopefully you have it. So, hey, Emily, thanks so much. Is there anything you want to add that we haven't talked about, or any websites or anything you want to throw out there? Carfax?
I would just say that Carfax Car Care app, it's awesome because it just takes the load off of you, and also recalls. We mentioned this quickly, but like 1 in 5 vehicles on the road have an open recall, and there is an awareness gap there too. So Carfax Car Care, and we'll let you know if your vehicle has a recall or if one's issued in the future. So it's an easy download and completely free. And you mentioned your kids, Gary. You can track your kids' vehicles in there. You could track your parents' vehicles. So you can put like a whole fleet of vehicles and just make sure that all of them are up to date on maintenance and recalls.
My kids are in their 20s. I don't think they want me tracking them.
Well, you can just track their car.
You could let them know if a recall's issued. Yeah, you're not tracking like where they are or anything. You're just tracking if a recall's issued or if their, registration's overdue, that kind of information where maybe a little friendly fatherly reminder might help them.
As a father, I will just tell them to download their own app and keep on top of it themselves. I can't do everything for this family. All right, Emily, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. It was great information, and some of this stuff very, very easy to do and relatively inexpensive, and it beats sitting on the side of the road with the problem. So, Emily, have a great holiday, and thanks for joining us on the On Your Side podcast.
You too. Thank you.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton, and I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.